Tonight on SRU Nightly News, an update on the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio.
Next, human remains are found at a local demolished Days Inn.
Also, a Grove City headmaster is accused of giving teenagers alcohol at a party on New Year's Eve. All this and more on SRU Nightly News. Welcome to SRU Nightly News. I'm Brandon Pierce.
I'm Bex Perneta.
On Sunday, a tragic motorcycle accident took place on the bridge overlooking Lake Arthur, located on Route 422 in Muddy Creek Township. Emergency dispatch quickly shut down the traffic to allow a medical helicopter to retrieve the wounded rider. The local fire department reported that the rider's leg was amputated after the crash, and the police department are still undergoing some investigation. All traffic at the place of the crash has been closed, and there is no word on when it will once again be open for the public.
18 days after the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, residents of the area are still fearful about the environmental conditions they're being exposed to. On Tuesday, the Ohio Department of Health opened medical clinics in the area for residents to come and discuss their concern with trained nurses and doctors. The ODH doctor, Bruce Vanderhoff, recently assured community members that their concerns have been heard, and now both the ODH and the state were going to work together to provide these services. As previously reported on February 3rd, a Norfolk Southern freight train crashed and derailed at around 9 o'clock at night. As a result of the crash, toxic chemicals were released from the train. Days following the crash, residents of the area described symptoms of red and dry eyes, finding fish that were dead in the creeks, and one woman awoke to find all of her chickens had died overnight. Experts say that the investigation into the derailment could take up to and longer than a year.
An update on the response from Norfolk Southern. Local residents say that the freight carrier is offering anyone living in the 44413 zip code a $1,000 check for, quote, inconvenience fee. CEO Alan Shaw returned to East Palestine for the second time to follow up on the cleanup. He assured members of the community that his Monday meeting that by accepting the $1,000 payment, they are not signing any waivers, preventing them from suing the company. While members of the community have been critical of the handling of the incident, Shaw wanted to assure the community that the controlled release was the right decision to be made. In doing so, a potentially even larger devastating event was avoided. On Monday, Shaw met with members of the community to personally apologize for the derailment and the devastating effects it has caused to residents and the surrounding communities.
Human remains were recently discovered at a demolished Days Inn site in Newcastle. On Sunday, police received a tip of a dead body inside the vacant Days Inn, which was destroyed last month. Cadaver dogs and firefighters were able to discover the body of Jeff McMahon, a native of Newcastle who has been missing since January. Additional remains were found, but none have been identified yet. Newcastle police are now working with the FBI on the investigation. Newcastle Police Chief Robert Salem spoke of the matter. Salem said that they are working to gather evidence to determine what happened.
A Grove City, Pennsylvania headmaster is accused of giving teenagers alcohol at a party on New Year's Eve. 53-year-old Sydney Enriquez of Grove City Christian Academy had been charged with corruption of minors and selling or furnishing liquor or malt or brewed beverages to a minor. According to a complaint received by Grove City Police, Enriquez provided alcohol to teens during a New Year's Eve party at his Forest Drive home. A 17-year-old reported seeing teenagers drinking with adults at various times during the party. During questioning, police said Enriquez admitted to allowing his children to drink. The children were over the age of 16. According to the Grove City Christian Academy Board of Directors, Mr. Enriquez was placed on administrative leave on January 27th. And while some legalities and privacy concerns prevent the board from being fully transparent, their primary focus is the safety of the students, and they plan to cooperate with law enforcement throughout the investigation. Enriquez is scheduled to appear in court on March 15th for a preliminary hearing. When we return, North Korea launched 2 ballistic missiles on Monday. What does this mean for the U.S.?
Also, Senator John Fetterman is hospitalized. Details after the break.
Hi, I'm Rob Disman, and I'm the owner of your local Domino's Slippery Rock. I started out with Domino's as a delivery driver when I was in college. Ended up really liking the job. Worked my way up through management to the supervisor. I did that for about 10 years. My family, we decided that we couldn't really go any further with that, so we decided to go ahead and become a franchisee with Domino's. I'm lucky enough to have enough community support that most customers have become more than just customers, they're more like friends. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this community for 20 years, and I look forward to many more years.
As years pass and people come and go from our lives, all we have is our memories. From the family gathering, to the summer baseball games, to that first trip to Disney, those memories are something to be cherished. I thought many of those memories were lost to time and outdated technology, but with Memory Lane Media, they gave me those memories back so that I can share them with my grandkids, and they can share them with their kids one day.
Welcome back.
In a show of defiance, North Korea launched 2 ballistic missiles on Monday in response to the upcoming United States and South Korean military drills. Both missiles were reportedly fired at 7 a.m. local time, with both missiles falling into the Sea of Japan. While North Korean leader Kim Jong-un has been the singular voice of the country in the past, his sister, Kim Yo-jong, announced the launches and decried the U.S. of S. Korean drills as provocation against the North Korean people. The USS Korean drills are to start in mid-March and last a total of 11 days. Kim Yo-jong has warned that should the drills take place, both the United States and South Korea can continue to expect North Korea to use the Pacific Ocean as their personal missile shooting range. In her statement, she announced that should Pyongyang deem that any U.S. forces within the region to be a threat to North Korea, the country will take defensive measures against those forces. The United States, South Korea, and Japan were quick to respond by performing joint air exercises meant to show North Korea how quick the reaction time of the United States and its Pacific allies would be. While North Korea has made similar threats over the years, the missile exercise on Monday was something new. In the past, North Korea held missile test launches that proved their missile technology was archaic. The launches on Monday were cemented proof that North Korea now has the capabilities to launch a nuclear attack.
On Sunday, Secretary of State Antony Blinken issued a warning that China may provide aid to Russia in its war against Ukraine. In the year that the Ukraine war was carried on, China has stayed silent when it has come to decrying the actions of Russia and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Should China move forward with these actions, they could potentially shift the tides of the war in Russia's favor. Jack Keane, who is a retired 4-star general, believes that with the Secretary Blinken bringing this to the world stage, that China will likely decide against offering aid. Secretary Blinken announced over the weekend that he would be postponing a planned trip to China in response to this issue. While speaking with his Chinese counterpart, Secretary Blinken stressed that China reconsider their decision to aid Russia, citing that tensions between our two countries is already strained due to the Chinese spy balloon that the U.S. military shot down over a week ago. According to General Keane, China has been a large consumer of Russian oil and has continued to aid its ally with the continued sanctions levied against them.
Continuing our coverage of the Michigan State shooting that took place last Monday, 3 of the 5 students who were injured in the shooting are no longer in critical condition, but still are hospitalized in the E.W. Sparrow Hospital. 2 additional injured students are in critical but stable condition, and another in fair condition. As we reported last week, the 3 students who were killed in the shooting were junior Alexandria Werner of Clawson, Michigan, Brian Frazier of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and Ariel Anderson, also of Grosse Pointe, Michigan. MSU paid for the victims' funerals and hospital bills for the injured students. Classes at MSU resumed on Monday, but no courses will be held in either Berkeley Hall or the MSU Student Union Center, where the shootings took place. The 53-year-old PA Democrat, Senator John Fetterman, has checked himself in the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center on February 15th to treat clinical depression. Fetterman, who suffered a stroke this past May, is receiving treatment on a voluntary basis. According to his chief of staff, Fetterman has had lifelong bouts with depression, and he noticed it has become severe in the past few weeks. Dr. Brian Monahan, the attending physician of Congress, recommended Walter Reed after an evaluation on January 13th. This was the same day that Fetterman returned to work after being hospitalized for 2 days for testing to rule out another stroke. Statistics show depression is common in surviving stroke victims, with 1 in every 3 post-stroke patients suffering from the mood disorder.
On Saturday, it was announced that former President Jimmy Carter was entering home hospice care. The announcement, which came from the Carter Center, detailed that President Carter had recently had a series of hospital stays. On Saturday, the former president made the decision that he wanted to spend what time he had left at home surrounded by his family. While his presidential place in history may be remembered for the Iran hostage situation, it ultimately ended his chances for re-election. Even after losing out on his re-election bid, the former president continued to serve his country, serving as a special envoy for several presidents, making international trips and assisting in negotiating peace deals. It's his humanitarian work, however, that President Carter will be most remembered for during his post-presidential years. The former president was an active participant in Habitat for Humanity, where he did carpentry work building houses for families who experienced financial challenges. President Carter, who served as president from 1977 to 1981, is the longest living former president in the United States history. Our thoughts go to the former president and his family during this time. When we come back, we sit down with the owners of Mixtape Street Eats. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Rob Disman, and I'm the owner of your local Domino's Slippery Rock. I started out with Domino's as a delivery driver when I was in college. Ended up really liking the job. Worked my way up through management to the supervisor. I did that for about 10 years. My family, we decided that we couldn't really go any further with that, so we decided to go ahead and become a franchisee with Domino's. I'm lucky enough to have enough community support that most customers have become more than just customers, they're more like friends. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this community for 20 years, and I look forward to many more years.
This is Matt Glover from Rock Media Network here with Adam from Mixtape Street Eats, where we're going to be learning about how he opened the restaurant and where he came up with the concept.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. So where'd you come up with the concept for Mixtape Street Eats?
So I went to an international culinary school, and I got to learn about different cultures and different foods from around the world. It was pretty cool. Like we had a separate class for like every region of the world, as well as like different parts of the United States, and I really got an interest in cooking a lot of different stuff. And then I went to a country club where they gave me free reign on coming up with specials, and I got to do a lot of banquets for, you know, different people and different ethnicities, and I got to pull different stuff from my cooks that like cooking different things, you know, and that was really what I got passionate about, and it got the creative juices flowing, was like cooking different stuff. And so when we were opening this, it was like, well, we've got a school here with probably a lot of different people coming from a lot of different places, and probably a little more adventurous in their eating styles and stuff. So that was where we went with the food, and that's kind of what mixtape is. It's a mixed bag. You know, I've got some Korean barbecue, I've got some Japanese, some Hawaiian foods, like some Southern foods, some Southern Californian foods. Like, I wanted to just take like everything I liked and put it on a menu. You know, and I'm a huge music fan. I can't play any instruments, but I am just a huge fan. Like, if we're ever closed in the summer, we're at a festival. You know, we're at a show. So we took those two things that we really love and tried to put them in here and make it something fun and something different here in Slippery Rock.
Okay, so is the menu kind of designed so you can like mix and match cuisines to get what you're looking for?
Absolutely. You know, I've got all this stuff on the menu, and then another section of the menu is you can build your own bowl, which, you know, I know that's kind of a popular trend right now, but, you know, if you go to like Chipotle or something, it's, you know, it's all Southern American or Southwestern geared. Like, you can literally take anything on my menu and build a bowl out of it. You know, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people order some weird stuff and you're going to put it out and you're thinking, I open a restaurant and this is kind of strange what I'm putting out, but people really seem to like it, and they like the idea of being able to build their own stuff, you know? And be able to switch cuisines and put some Asian stuff with some, you know, Mexican foods and some American stuff. And I don't know, that surprisingly has been like my #1 seller, was these bowls, you know?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then, where did you discover your passion for cooking?
So I always had a passion for it. Like, starting in high school, I went to work for some guys, and they were like really cool in the kitchen. I had a good time, and they were professional chefs, and they showed me some tricks, and I kind of did that for a while, like in some small places. And I actually went to Slippery Rock for like 2 years, but the traditional school just wasn't really for me, you know. My mother, my sister, my wife have all graduated from Slippery Rock. I went here, but I didn't graduate here. But anyway, you know, I was working some like random jobs, and I used to bartend. A guy came in and shot me twice in the stomach with a .357, robbed the bar. After that, so I was working construction and bartending, and after that happened, I was laid up for like 3 years. And I wanted to get back to doing something that I really liked, you know, which I didn't love building houses. I didn't love bartending. And so I went to culinary school when they finally got me fixed up after like 3 years. And it's been great ever since. I stepped into the school and I loved doing what I was doing. You know, all of a sudden it was easy to go to school for me because I really liked it. And I did really well there. And then, you know, like I said, I went to this country club and rose through the ranks there until I didn't want to work at a country club anymore and wanted to do my own thing and something cool, you know?
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Because like, even after being shot, you went from one like difficult environment to another. It's interesting how you transition like that.
It's been fun. Like, we really dig being up here. My wife used to ask me, she's like, what's your dream? What do you want to do? I'm like, I want to cook tacos for people I like. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. Like, our customers have been awesome. The people that come in here are so cool. I have not had to deal with any kind of like, you know, people mad and yelling at us and stuff. People seem to dig the food, and it's really gratifying, and I want to keep putting out good stuff.
I was gonna ask you next, how does this location between the two apartment complexes help you guys out?
It's pretty cool. Like, when I first looked at this building, we walked in, and I looked at the dining room, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? This is a small dining room. And I hadn't been up here in years. We started driving around, and I saw all the off-campus housing that had been built since I, you know, had been back on this side of campus. And we started thinking, you know, we could do like a mainly takeout kind of restaurant here and simplify things a little bit. And it's been great. It's probably 70% of my orders come in online. People come in, grab their food, and they roll, you know. But other people like to come in. We deck this dining room out with stuff that we dig, and people walk in. You know when it's someone's first time. They walk in and they just go like this and just start looking around. It's like, all right, you're new here. What's, you know? But the business has been really well over here. It's a little tough when students leave, but we're finding ways to adapt. We're picking up catering. We go off-site. We go up to Big Rail Brewery a lot. we go down to Butler and do these Foodie Friday things in the summertime, and you know, figuring out how to make it a 12-month business was a little bit of a struggle, but it's working out.
Okay. I have been Matt Glover from Rock Media Network, and thank you for tuning in with Adam from Mixtape Street Eats. Now stay tuned for more news.
Hi, I'm Rob Disman, and I'm the owner of your local Domino's Slippery Rock. I started out with Domino's as a delivery driver when I was in college. Ended up really liking the job. Worked my way up through management to the supervisor. I did that for about 10 years. My family, we decided that we couldn't really go any further with that, so we decided to go ahead and become a franchisee with Domino's. I'm lucky enough to have enough community support that most customers have become more than just customers, they're more like friends. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this community for 20 years, and I look forward to many more years.
I'm Tyler.
I'm Aiden.
And I'm Eddy.
And this is your weekly SRU sports update.
This past weekend, the women's basketball team made the trip to Indiana to square off against the Crimson Hawks. After beating them at home just a couple weeks prior, they had to sweep IUP in order to keep their playoff hopes alive. They were able to do just that as Delia Gibson scored 22 and Isabella Middleton put up 20. As they took down IUP 70-57, they welcome Clarion tonight and will be playing another must-win game.
The men's team also made the trip to Indiana on Saturday, but they were unable to get the same result as the women's team. The Rock had already clinched a playoff spot the week before, but they're still fighting for seeding. At IUP, they fought back to even the game at 43, but just as soon as they got back into it, the Crimson Hawks went on a 12-2 run. It helped them seal a 73-60 win. The Rock is back in action tonight against Clarion and will hope to build momentum for the playoffs.
The baseball team is about to get rolling this Friday as they make the trip to Shippensburg for their first series of the season. The game will be followed up by a doubleheader on Saturday and the final game of their 4-game set against the Raiders on Sunday as the Rock looks for what players are ready to step up before conference play. Senior outfielder Alex Robinault was named to the preseason All-America team. Slippery Rock will likely look to lean on Robinault and some other upperclassmen returners like John Kazarian, Devin Dunn, Luke Truman, along with last year's sophomore standout Kobe Bubash.
And that's all for this week. Thanks for tuning in.
Welcome back. The SRU Pride Center is hosting What's Love Got to Do With It?, a celebration of individuals on the aromatics spectrum on Thursday, February 23rd. This event will be held from 6 to 7 o'clock p.m. in the Smith Student Center Ballroom. Join in on the fun and enjoy some music, sweet treats, and games.
In honor of Black History Month, First Nations will be hosting a discussion about some of the contemporary issues Afro-Indigenous people face when it comes to identity and acceptance in their event, the Afro-Indigenous Identity. The event will take place on Friday, February 24th at 4 p.m. in Vincent Science Center, room 308.
Black Action Society and Rock the Weekend are holding the annual Ebony Ball on Friday, February 24th from 6 to 9 o'clock p.m. in the Smith Student Center Ballroom. Food and music will be provided and fun is sure to ensue. Make sure to come dressed in your best attire.
Are you currently looking for a part-time or full-time job? Well then, we have good news for you. The SRU Job Fair will be held on Tuesday, February 28th in the Smith Student Center Theater. Come out and meet some of the local businesses representatives to learn about who is hiring and pick up an application to apply. The event will be held from 12:30 to 1:45.
Dr. El Hakim, who has traveled the country over the last 30 years collecting historical artifacts, will be coming to Slippery Rock. Some of the unique items from his collection are documents signed by Frederick Douglass, Booker T. Washington, Rosa Parks, and Malcolm X. Dr. El Hakim will display some of his collection in the NPR room on the first floor of the Bailey Library on February 28th from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. Please come meet Dr. El Hakim and experience his mobile museum to learn more about some of our history's greatest individuals.
Looking for an activity to relax? We've got just the thing for you. Grow where you're planted, an event where you can stop by, make plants, and meet new people. Participants will also have the opportunity to learn about personal growth.
After the break, Frederick Douglass Institute on campus seeks your feedback. How can you contribute to the conversation when we return?
Hi, I'm Rob Disman, and I'm the owner of your local Domino's Slippery Rock. I started out with Domino's as a delivery driver when I was in college. Ended up really liking the job. Worked my way up through management to the supervisor. I did that for about 10 years. My family, we decided that we couldn't really go any further with that, so we decided to go ahead and become a franchisee with Domino's. I'm lucky enough to have enough community support that most customers have become more than just customers, they're more like friends. It's been a pleasure to be a part of this community for 20 years, and I look forward to many more years.
As years pass and people come and go from our lives, all we have is our memories. From the family gathering to the summer baseball games to that first trip to Disney, those memories are something to be cherished. I thought many of those memories were lost to time and outdated technology, but with Memory Lane Media, they gave me those memories back so that I can share them with my grandkids, and they can share them with their kids one day.
Welcome back. SRU's chapter of the Frederick Douglass Institute Collaborative recently distributed a survey via the SRU email system to collect information on the community's understanding of the FDI and its mission. In addition to the types of programming and events campus community members would like to see the FDI bring to SRU. To participate in the survey, scan the QR code on your screen. The FDI's mission is to create inclusive university communities and transformative connections among historically underrepresented communities across the Commonwealth and beyond. SRU's chapter of the Frederick Douglass Institute Collaborative is led by Dr. Franklin Charles.
And that's all we have for you tonight, Slippery Rock. I'm Bex Perneta.
And I'm Brandon Pierce. Have a great evening, SRU.